Welcome back everybody and welcome to the race 7 of season 9 of Formula Sundays. We are in Australia and here we are going away from the line on towards turn 1. We have Alfa Romeo in the Ferrari this time around and Mealy in the Alfa Romeo, who will stay ahead for now, as it is the Alfa, then Ferrari, and then the two McLarens following up, Siegel and Brentenbach going side by side. Even there, late lunge by Siegel to the inside of this turn 3, I think, and he makes it up into P2, even though not entirely without contact. Will remain there for now as Brentenbach is eyeing to get a move on Alfa Romeo done here, but can't quite find the gap just yet. Maybe coming out of the slipstream here. Alfa Romeo covers towards the inside here, gets sent over the curb, and then on the exit Brentenbach gets passed into P3. Let's have another look at the situation. We go 4 wide pretty much into this turn, and it is Matt, aka Mike Crack here, going wide through the gravel trap and all the way down the order. However, into a lap 4, where we have the top of the pack still closely racing with each other here, Vroom and Alfa Romeo looking to get a move done here, but yeah, ultimately nothing happening. Instead it is yellows in sector 1, and I think there was Aris on the hard compound has pitted early and has spun out. Let's have a look at that. And here we see him approaching that treacherous turn 3 and ultimately losing it and spinning out in wild fashion, but yeah, getting his car off track to safely recover onto the racetrack in last position. We are still in lap 4, a little bit further down said lap, and there we have Matt in the Merc and Yapsinio here battling it out on the second DRS straight, and Matt goes easily through into P10. Lap 5, same spot here as the leading pack goes into the last sector of this track on the last few turns, and will certainly try to get a move going on the main straight. But we see here yellow flag in sector 1 and safety cars coming out. On the bottom of the scoreboard we see Aris with the DNF. We will jump over there in a hot second to see what happened, as we see Vroom here, the first of the top drivers, diving into the pits to get that free stop, and here we are on board with Aris. And once more, it is this turn 3 that caught him off guard and into the wall. Quite a heavy shunt here. Well, let's have another look on that one from the onboard perspective, as here we see him approaching a set turn and then on the exit just losing it. Hard tires, no grip, and into the wall he goes for the DNF. In lap 7 we are having the safety car restart, and it is Mealy leading Siegel and Brentenbach, and afterwards Fabian Gaming, who has not pitted, starting from the mediums initially, and now up to P4. Mealy takes it relatively slow and then accelerates out of the last turn here, and we see Brentenbach losing his car there, trying to wiggle his way through that turn to warm up his tires and then missing out on the traction. And Vroom's already side by side with Fabian Gaming, but Fabian brakes considerably later, a little bit too late even. Vroom may get another chance side by side with the Aston, and Vroom's already ahead. Brentenbach looks to slip through as well, and immediately behind we have the Ferraris. Alfa Romeo dives down the inside. Not a good restart for Fabian, of course. On the medium compound has it a little bit more difficult to defend against all these soft compound drivers, as we have Matt here down the inside as well, pushing Fabian a little bit, and down to P8 we go. Rido is now having a look down the inside as well, but brakes way too far on the inside, as Doomato was almost getting past there too. very eager to get past the two in front here as we jump into lap 8. And yeah, still very tight battles here. Alfa Romeo here is very close to Brandenburg and decides to make a move up the inside into turn 1 here. Even gets ahead before the turn and is ahead fully now in this 9th lap up into P4 as we jump a little bit further down the order. And there we still have the trio of Doomato, Rido and Fabian very close together. No overtakes yet without the DRS, but these three, yeah, very similar pace here. And we have Doomato into the wall once more, and ultimately bringing out the next safety car. Williams not really having it in Australia apparently. Yet another double DNF, and there we see it from the onboard again. Takes it slow through that turn, even lifts. No clue why he flies off there. And yeah, there's the DNF for the Williams, bringing out the second safety car in just below 10 laps. Another perspective here, into the wall directly. No chance at saving that car. It is a lap 10, safety car is already out, and well, what you of course don't know yet, it is a rain race, a wet race in the second half of this race forecast. Yeah, is telling Rido apparently that the rain is rather arriving sooner than later, and he goes onto intermediates immediately. However, as we can see quite well, there are not really many raindrops just yet, and that will show in lap 11 here. Safety car is ending. Everyone is still on the slick tire and does apparently not have much of a problem with that, as we are in the second restart that Alfa Romeo and Vroom will attend behind the leader here. Vroom may have just heavily slept on the restart here, as Mealy is far away already, and Alfa Romeo is now even looking up the inside of Vroom, who cuts turn 1 entirely, misses the braking point big time, as the track seems to be getting a little bit wet. Brandenburg has lost it apparently as well, DNF for the second McLaren, whereas Siegel is up in the mix for P3 here. Tries to go around the outside of Matt, but can't quite do that just yet. Instead will stay behind for now. Has the better compound to drive in these conditions. And yeah, will stay in P4 for now. Yapsinho retiring his car as well after losing the front wing. And yeah, a lot to unpack on this safety car restart. We will have another look at it here. Brandenburg on board with him and plop into the wall. Yeah, the track's getting a bit slippery. We see first raindrops on the camera, and now with Yapsinho here, who is driving that treacherous turn here, hits the curb on the inside, loses the front wing entirely, retires. It is a lap number 12, and we are with Siegel here on the soft compound, still stuck behind Matt on the mediums, and now running around the outside, having a relatively easy time. In conditions that are getting worse grip-wise, it is always better to have a softer compound. You need all the grip that you can get here. And yeah, let's have a look at Rido here, who is driving the intermediates for quite a little bit already. 2 laps here, first spin here, and yeah, he's fairly obviously struggling on those inters. They are not good just yet. The slick tires are still better in these conditions, and after becoming more and more frustrated with the conditions, he ultimately chooses to retire the car, and that marks yet another DNF for this race. Has been claiming quite a bunch of victims as we jump back to the top 2. Alfa Romeo and Mealy here having a go at each other down that last turn, and we see Alfa Romeo completely losing traction and hitting the pit entry as Seagull promotes into P2. Noof diving into the pits for intermediate tires here, and so is ultimately Alfa Romeo, who was halfway in the pits anyways. And yeah, the time may be coming closer to get onto the Inters as the conditions get worse and worse. But Noof here actually accidentally selecting the hard compound, big mistake, will cost him another stop. As, yeah, this is no compound to finish the race on. We jump into lap 14, and we see Mealy on the soft compound still in the lead here. And now finally getting into the pits too. The McLaren of Seagull is following shortly after. And I think now is the time, as we see smaller puddles on the floor on the racetrack. And Inters may be the viable option here. Matt still going through there, and I think so does Daddy AI. He has not been driving himself in this race, and yes, currently sitting in P1, yellow sector 1 here. We will see what's going on there in a brief moment for sure. As yeah, the former two leaders exit the pits, and there we have it. It is actually Matt, who did not pit for Inters, who now spun in sector 1. So yeah, maybe having just mistimed the pitting point, pretty much. And there we see him lose it. Luckily not hitting the wall there for him. Could have easily been the end of his race, or at least of his front wing. And Vroom, his teammate here, is just narrowly avoiding a collision here as well. Still on the medium compound as well. Both Mercedes will be coming in this upcoming lap. And that is lap 15. And we're on board with Matt here, having issues on track as well. And that is Norris-esque driving. And Matt is fed up with it. DNFs, retires his car, and that marks yet another DNF in this race. We see Vroom though, Mercedes teammate, diving into the pits now, getting the Inters as well. We've seen before DRS disabled is usually a good indicator to show when Inters are actually good. And that brings Fabian back up into the top positions, P4 for him. A decent position to be in, given that the rest of the race is likely going to be raining and it's difficult to overtake. We jump forwards into lap 20, and Alfa Romeo still stuck behind Vroom. Fabian remains in P4 for now. And we have a yellow flag in sector 3 and a safety car coming out yet again, who may have crashed there. It is most likely Noof here, and let's have a look at the replay. It is indeed the Alfa Romeo of Noof who is coming around the last few corners, and then just losing his car here on the acceleration, and into the wall he goes. Front wing completely gone into lap 20 here, and we see him exiting the pits just ahead of the leader here, Mealy here. And yeah, that gives Noof the chance to unlap himself, as he does not have to wait behind the safety car. And yeah, decent chances for him to still have an impact in this race, as he is directly behind the crew when the safety car ends in lap 23, and we will have yet another restart that Mealy is leading ahead of Seagull here. And yeah, of course, Daddy AI in P3, as Mealy will pick up the pace right about here, and now we're going on racing tempo again. Mealy ahead of Seagull towards turn 1, but Seagull is not that far away, too far away to make a lunge eventually though, and he does not dare to go up the inside, and the order stays as it was here on this wet restart. A little bit deeper into lap 24 now. We have Fabian Gaming and Alfa Romeo, who has made his way past Vroom, who had a little mistake. And he's now looking to promote into the top 3 and does so down the inside here. Does not even need the DRS. Fabian there with a very wide line. And now down to P5. As we will surely have another look at that again here in the replay. On board with Alfa Romeo in the Ferrari, of course, sees that Fabian is a little bit late to the turn and decides to spontaneously dive down the inside. Very late reactions, but very quick. And now he is one place further up. And that brings us to the conclusion already. Lap 29. Here we are. No other and further position changes here, as it is Mealy coming home first without any time penalties as well. Seagull in second, contested by Alfa Romeo, but he has 9 seconds of time penalties, so that will drop him further down the order. Ultimately, it is going to be Mealy, Seagull, Alfa Romeo ahead of Fabian still, Vroom, and then Newf as the sole finishers of this race. It has been absolute chaos, and I'm looking forward to see the next week, so we will see you then.